Welcome to Heroes Feast. May we take your order, please? Welcome to Heroes Feast. Tell us what's your fantasy. Pirates are the special. We got gods on the side, bastards on the daily. All you gotta do is decide. Take your time, cause we got plenty. Just 1 sec, gotta roll a d20. Eat it here or take it to go. Put your earbuds in and enjoy the show. Hi, everybody. This is Carlos.
Hi, this is Emily. It's us again.
Yet again, back at it with the flavor of the week. And this week, the flavor is steampunk.
Whoop, whoop.
One day we'll get an actual soundboard. But for now, please deal with our analog sounds. So yeah, steampunk.
With our human mouths.
It's not really a genre. It's like more of a setting. But I think there's a lot of elements that are really conducive to having a really fun game that you can get into. How do you feel about it?
It's big enough that it's like, I forgot how many words were involved in this podcast.
A lot of words.
It's like a subgenre that's big enough to almost be its own genre, I feel like.
Yeah. You don't have your thesaurus open like I do?
No, I try to trust the thesaurus in my head, but it fails me frequently.
Look, I have a lot of steampunk examples.
Because I think really what just like defines this genre is essentially like machinery powered by steam and sometimes vaguely Victorian aesthetic. And that's it. So there's a lot of things that fall into that category, it seems.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's like a bigger role than we give credit to. There's a variety of punks as I've come to find.
Solar punk and like other punks that involve
like cassette punk, which is like, we never evolved past like 80s technology. And that one's actually really fun in terms of like vaporwave aesthetics, if you're into that kind of thing.
Maybe we'll do an episode of that one someday.
But yeah, I think it's really important to keep in mind that something to like, you know, when creativity is boundless, it often becomes hard to create things. But when you like narrow it down a bit, it really helps, if that makes sense.
No, I get it. It's like having too many options on Netflix to watch and you're like, there's nothing, versus old school cable where you were like, well, this is all that's on right now, so I guess this is what I'll watch.
Exactly. So I think like being in that like Victorian era, I think it would be pretty fun. I think we will be able to like do a lot of things within that, and it gives us another like border for steampunk. So it's not all encompassing. So some things I was thinking about were the later parts of The Last Airbender were definitely like very steampunk in a lot of ways.
Oh, Legend of Korra, or
actually both.
Oh, okay.
So like the very end of actually even I think within the second season when they go to one of the air temples and there's a bunch of people.
That one inventor dude.
Yeah, so he's like doing steampunk.
They did use steam a lot to help the fake airbenders fly.
Yeah, exactly. Those wubs. What else? Of course, Full Metal Alchemist. Gotta love it.
Gotta love it. That's a masterpiece in everything, basically.
Of course.
Character development, strong female leads, storytelling.
One of the glorious things about it was the steam. There's a lot of steam involved, and I would consider Automail steampunk, even though
I like that because it was a cool inclusion. Because I think a lot of times too, when you get into these fantasy adventure settings, there's like that unfortunate preconceived notion that like we can't have disabled people. It's just not quote unquote realistic, which is horseshit. But Full Metal Alchemist was like, get a load of our cast of disabled characters because fucking so many people are missing limbs because it's war times.
I think that's like another thing. I think we should definitely have like a war where there's a lot of veterans. And I think I don't know why that seems interesting, but post-war games always seem kind of fun.
Yeah, like I don't really want to deal with during the war, but I am very curious about after the war, similar to like, that's why I like Breath of the Wild so much, because it was like the apocalypse that already happened, and now you're looking at the world after the apocalypse, and I just think that's neat.
Mm-hmm.
I would venture to say Atlantis.
Oh yeah,
from Disney, also steampunk.
Yeah, and I was going to throw it back even further than Atlantis. That's right. H.G. Wells' The Time Machine. Let's see, Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, which are also like I would consider pretty steampunky. Frankenstein was up in there with like glass tubes and like lightning and chains and such. And The Time Machine is pretty much like all steam. So we got some great examples. We got some great like inspirations, I think. Atlantis was a great pull.
No, God, I love Atlantis.
Almost forgot about that much. One. where do we want it to take place? I think you already have an idea, right?
Yes, we both did the thinking of it beforehand instead of creating it in the moment, but what can you do? Oh fuck, I forgot to mention another hang on, actually I'm going to Google it just to make sure I don't fuck it up.
Yeah. Oh yeah, so do I. I have another one actually that I really want to talk about. While you're searching for it, I guess I'll just fill in the time. If you've ever watched Love, Death, and Robots, there's a episode within it called Good Hunting that takes place in 20th century China, where a young boy and his father are demon hunting. They're demon hunters, and they find a fox shape-shifting spirit. They ended up killing her, and the son ends up finding the daughter, who's just like a little girl who also shapeshifts, and she like hunts both like people, animals, things like that.
Oh shit.
They kind of grow up together in secret after the kid's dad dies, and very quickly the English come in and start industrializing the whole area as like they put in like trains.
The fucking Brits at it again.
Yeah. And not only does it destroy her like hunting grounds, and there's like less and less spirit energy and such, but at one point she eventually gets taken in by like, you know, the wealthy white people as like a
novelty.
Not only as a novel, more as like a prostitute, but not being paid, like a sex slave. There we go. It's like not. I think it's more of a metaphor for. I mean, she was literally a sex slave, but I think it's supposed to be like representational of like what they're doing to nature. And they eventually like one guy ends up buying her, replaces 90% of her body with robot parts because that's what he's into.
Isn't that like the Evita movie? Isn't she a robot? Well, no, I guess she was always a robot. Never mind.
No, this is a little bit different. And then what it ends up happening is that she goes and finds that boy again who has, you know, he never moved out. He ended up getting really into engineering and studying all like the little mechanical animals and like mechanical tricks and things that that has come over. And he's gotten really into that. He's like sort of moved into like an engineering field where he's like an assistant who knows significantly more than the people who he works for because he's Asian. They don't allow him those places of power. But when she goes to see him, he ends up helping her by making her a new body that allows her to like turn into this sick robotic fox back and forth.
Like a transformer kind of.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, I highly recommend it, and I think it's a great example of what steampunk can be, and you don't necessarily have to lock it in a box, I guess. Like Victorian England isn't necessarily like only steampunk, but you can also do like industrialized China with like spirits and stuff, which I thought was interesting.
Hell yeah. The thing that I was going to look up, which I have now found, is the Leviathan. I don't know if it's the Leviathan series or not, but it's by Scott Westerfeld and has a sequel, Behemoth and Goliath. And I remember reading these when I was in high school, middle school. That's when I did most of my reading. But it's one of those alternate history cool exploration things where it's like it's an alternate version of World War I. So it's like very techie robot people, which is like the Central Powers, and then versus the other side where they're really into like making animals and beasties out of things like that. So it's like bio versus robots kind of a thing, while also being set in like historical World War I era.
So
anyways,
it sounds interesting as hell. However, like, one of the covers makes it look so cheesy. Like I would never have picked it up, but I'm glad you've told me because now I will.
That's fair. No, it's a good book. I liked reading it. It was really cool. It was little gay baby Emily's first brush with internalized homophobia because one of the female characters kisses another character who's masquerading as a boy, but the female character knows that she's a girl too, and she kissed her anyways. And I was like, girls can't kiss girls. What? That's not how that works. But I've come to terms with it now and I'm fine. But anyways, super fun book, super cool. I don't know. I think that's why I do like the steampunk genre, because I think it's one of those ones again that you can blend well and mix it with a bunch of other stuff. Like this one, it's like, well, I guess all of them kind of have historical ties, but I don't know.
I think this one specifically does. I don't know.
Because it's set in the World War I or what have you. But yeah, Leviathan, highly recommend.
Will do. That sounds super interesting. All right. Are you ready to tell me what your idea was? Do you want to go first or second?
So here's my pitch.
Yeah. What's your pitch? Let's hear it.
So I was thinking, because of all the unfortunate Victorian ties to it, I feel like there's a lot of like colonialism and like advancement and like we know the right way to do this tech. And really, honestly, the Industrial Revolution was kind of a blight on society because it was all downhill from there as far as capitalism and industry goes. But anyways, So I figured, let's not set it in England, because fuck them. No offense to any English listeners out there, but like,
Fuck
look at
'em.
your history. Look what you've done. We're no better, but like, you know, we're all full of sin here.
You
Anyways,
started it.
in a way, yeah. But set it in like the Sahara Desert or any kind of desert, really. But I was envisioning Sahara, and like have it be where, yeah, it's steam, but because water is in such high demand, there's like oasis. How do you?
Mhm.
What's the plural of that? Oases. I don't know, but multiple oasis. But like those are like very protected areas where it's like, you know, they barely regulate them. But then also there could be a fun profession like cloud chasers, where it's these people in like these aircrafts harvesting clouds to get water for steam. I thought that would be a fun element.
Oh, that's lit as hell.
Yeah. And so, and then it's tricky because, you know, sand probably gets in a lot of machinery, but I don't know, perhaps their mechanics are more wood based. I don't know if water would be bad on that. I don't know a lot about the properties of items, but as far as settings go, I thought the idea of like set desert with like, I don't know. I just really thought the cloud chaser element was a fun idea.
No, I think that's an awesome element. I love that idea. Mine was San Francisco not be that old, but I think a reimagined history where San Francisco is, you know, older. Yeah. And it's like a Victorian level San Francisco. I just thought would be really interesting. And it's this huge city with like major skyscrapers. And yeah, you just play as, I have two characters in mind, and I guess I wanted to build a world for them.
Sounds like you got the starts of a novel there almost.
I guess playing D&D with yourself is just writing a book, right?
It's challenging. I hate it.
So instead of being take any magic type class, right? And you just make them a stage magician.
Ah, that's fun.
I just thought that would be really like a really interesting way to interpret that and see how that would affect the way you would play.
So it's like it all kind of has like a practical element to it, where it's like, yeah, you just cast fireball, but really it's because you have like a gas line attached to your sleeve and a sparker thing on your palm or something, and you go poof or something like that.
Yeah, I was thinking like some of the things would be magic and some of the things wouldn't.
Oh.
I still wanted to incorporate some level of arcana and level of mysticism, but I didn't really know how. But I also love the idea of them just having a bunch of like just crazy level stage magic abilities. I think that'd be so fun.
Well, because I know steampunk doesn't usually have magic, but there was that one Amazon Prime series that came out that was based on a book, and Orlando Bloom was in it, I think, and it had that fairy chick, and it gave me steampunk vibes. Oh, I don't remember what it's called.
Don't worry, we can come back to that, and you can always slice an insert of you being like, it's this.
I knew the whole time. Don't even question me. I know everything. But yeah, but that's a steampunk element that had magic in it.
I was thinking like something cursed had been dug up that was like awakening things throughout the city. And
the
like,
mummy's tomb.
Well, yeah, like they have a museum and like either that's a great idea. Like stuttering up a storm over here. The
bad Wi-Fi all around.
No, that was just me.
Oh,
that was just all me, baby. No, but like they awaken a mummy's curse because that's a very fun, not Victorian level curse, but almost. The other thing I thought would be kind of fun would be a giant gorilla attack, a King Kong-esque homage. I don't know why that felt very steampunk, but it did. It felt right.
I mean, so I guess especially if you incorporate like an element, like maybe there's some sort of bioengineering element, some big bad making monsters too big, and they're like, "Oops, big boy got out. Oh no."
And then the other character I was thinking of was more of a city druid, and how you would incorporate a druid into a steampunk setting. I was thinking, oh, what if it was like a clockwork druid, where he can either, like he was either a tinkerer and made a bunch of tiny like clockwork animals, which would just have like, you know, the animal stats, or was a warforged who was like a clockwork warforged who could turn into different like little creatures.
A transformer.
Again, a transformer.
I like that.
Let's really play a transformer.
Like, because when you first said city druid, I was like, oh, they can't really have big familiars, I'd imagine, because, you know, that's hard to do in a city environment. So it's probably have to be small rodents. But then you were like, they could make tiny robots, or they could be the robot. And I was like, oh, okay, I like that.
They're powered by steam, and maybe that's like a debilitating factor, is that they're constantly like running out of whatever they used for fuel. And that's something that they need to keep track of. They're not like hand-waved internal energy.
Because that's why I think a desert setting could be interesting in that water becomes, I mean, water's already pretty a valued commodity to begin with. But like, especially in a place where water is such a rarity, a scarcity, it would become especially very, maybe not plot relevant, but definitely an important element.
I like your desert idea more than my San Francisco idea. I think that's significantly more interesting because, I don't know, I feel like you could do like a couple of episodes where, or sessions where they, the party goes out to a city. But I think if the desert is the central focus, there's a lot of things you can do with that.
I just, not, this one is a little too on the nose, but I love an open sandbox type world.
There's so much you can do with it. I feel like if you have like a big city, that's not true. You can do a lot with that, but I do like.
But I feel like when you focus on a big city, it's very limited to being that big city. Like that's just where everything happens.
Yeah, you're right.
And like there can still be cities in the desert too.
Okay. I just had a crazy idea.
Bring it. That's what we're all about here at flavorsoftheweek.com.
So steampunk episode. It's a steampunk creature and similar.
Oh my God. Sorry. Finish your thought. I just forgot a crucial element of my fucking pitch that I had. Anyways, go finish your thought.
Yes. So do you know like 10,000 Leagues Under the Sea? And you had, Captain
Kraken?
Nemo. Oh, well, yeah, there was a Kraken, but there's also like Captain Nemo and his ship that was like shaped like a Kraken, I think, or a giant fish. I don't quite remember. But what if you had a similar Captain Nemo-esque character, but instead of a giant like robotic fish, this guy had a giant like sandworm robot ship.
Perfect. We're on the same track. Because the thing that reminded me of was part of my pitch was saying, instead of the traditional, like, it's a car or it's a thing, like, I think it's more fun when you incorporate machinery with like nature elements. So like, what's the best creature to get around the desert? Probably a lot of things. But the answer to my question is a camel. So like a very large robotic camel is like one of the, like, it's like, I'm getting so excited that my thoughts are all piling up at once and my mouth can't talk as fast.
It means we're on the right track.
But like, again, Breath of the Wild. Fucking love that game so goddamn much.
Gotta get it.
But some of the, fake fan. What are their names? The beasts? Shit. This is what happens.
I cannot help you. I do not have a Switch yet.
What were they called? Divine Beasts. The Divine Beasts. That's what it was.
You were 50% there.
I was close. But especially because classic Zelda, they always have a desert setting, the Gerudo Desert or Gerudo. I don't know. Geek fans don't at me. I don't want to hear it. But they always have a desert environment in the Legend of Zelda games where the Gerudo people live. And in this particular game of Breath of the Wild, they have a divine beast, which is just this giant monstrosity of a creature. And when you first enter the desert, you can see these sandstorms. And they're like, that's because the divine beast is angry and it's just stomping around out there making these sandstorms. And when you get up close to it, it's like this really funky looking, almost camel-esque type creature. I think that's why I'm so attracted to the campaign that we have for Wandering Gods, because there's just something about seeing like the awe of just looking at a beast. And I'm so bummed I'll never experience it in this life. But like looking out and seeing there's this huge thing just moving and you're like, oh shit, that's really big because it looks even big from here. And I'm still like a good distance away, you know?
I think you can definitely do that. I've definitely felt awe in front of a few animals, giraffes, elephants, and there's like great
They're
zoos.
pretty big.
They're pretty big. And especially if you start thinking about it, they're really big. And another one is that you can always go whale watching too. Whales are
terrifying. Those are big.
Yeah, exactly. And that's like a pretty, not necessarily affordable, but really just affordable at times, but it's a very doable thing. That's as extreme as like hunting down something in the wilderness or something.
But yeah, so like instead of the classic airships or something, I just think it'd be cool to have it be like your Warforged Druid almost, where it's like it's machinery, but it's very animal based inspiration from nature kind of stuff.
Yeah, like giant like robotic condors, or maybe not even a bird for the air machine. Maybe it's like I don't know what would it be.
A very big fly or dragonfly. I think dragonfly based ships are cool.
Yeah, that's cool. I really like this setting. I think that would be really fun.
Neat.
And are they trying to industrialize the desert? Are these people from the desert? Are they like from the generation that came into the desert? What's going on there? What do you think about that?
Because I guess, because again, like it's like do we want this to be a very D&D centric type campaign? Because unfortunately, that's the only engine we've learned how to play with. Or do we want to hypothetically just say it's general and you could put it on anything? Because I was looking into a couple other tabletop role-playing engines. There's one called Tephra that looks pretty cool. There was one that was specifically about air fights, which I was like, that'd be pretty convenient if the cloud chasers are like a very crucial element of the campaign and stuff.
I would love air fighting. That sounds great.
I forget which one that was called. I want to give credit where credit is due because there's so many. There's a lot of tabletop games out there. Like, it's not just D&D. There's a lot. Maybe it was Tephra. Was it Tephra? I don't know. Anyways, there's cool things out there. But so the point of that being, like, do we incorporate all of the different like species of D&D, like orcs and tieflings and things, or is it just they're all humans but variants like we do in Wandering Gods, or is it just like, I guess, like how closely in line do we want it to be, like Earth but slightly to the left, or is it just full on fantasy? Is a determining factor there.
So I think it would be fun to put the constraint that they all have to be people that you play. Like maybe there's one or two other races, but I think people is a fun one. Something
by
else,
people you mean humans, yes?
Humans, yes, because I guess they're all people. Yes, humans.
That's why that confused me. You're like, you have to play as a people, and I'm like, I think that is what we're doing.
As a peoples. No, but human I think would be a good idea to narrow it down to there. What else was I thinking? But I had this other idea floating around my head, but it's probably too many. It'd be one too many vegetables in the pot, I think, to add. H.G. Wells. Shoot. What's the alien ones?
What do you mean?
Yeah, War of the Worlds. War of the Worlds. Yeah, when the aliens come down to Earth and like start taking over. I feel like that's also very steampunky. I don't know why, but my point being that it would be fun if like one of the races you could play was like an alien shapeshifter, and that's how you were able to get another like race into the game. I guess maybe again, but it's probably a little bit too much things going on, if that makes sense.
No, yeah, I feel it. Yeah. Got to be careful or we're going to end up like last time's episode where it's just like a whole bunch of shit all going on at once.
Exactly. I can say though that I would really want an auto mail piece for my character.
I was thinking it'd be cool to have like a kind of wheelchair that's like adapted to the desert. So I don't know if that means having those big wheels like they do for the beach, or if it's just like instead of wheels it has some sort of sled type thing.
I mean, I think the obvious answer is tractor tire, or what are they called? They're not called tractor tires. They're called, what are they called? Tank wheels? Tank treads? Tank treads.
Treads, yeah. Treads could be a good thing too. Because then too, it's like, you don't have to be dependent upon your character, like actually pushing it or even someone pushing them around. Yeah. It's just powered by steam and they can just like go because it's steampunk. Everything's powered by steam.
One of the most interesting fusions I think I've ever seen that was a movie from my childhood. It's Will Smith's Wild Wild West. Have you heard of it?
I've heard of Will Smith.
Have you heard of it, Will Smith? There's this movie called Wild Wild West that is a steampunk version of America's Wild West. And one of the major villains is in a wheelchair, and he's like an inventor. And his wheelchair it looks like a regular wheelchair at first, but it also is able to transform it into a bunch of spidery legs that are powered by steam.
That's how you know it's a villain, when the spider legs come out and you're like, oh, fuck.
And then he also has a huge train that ended up turning into a giant spider, I'm fairly certain.
I do love the idea of trains, especially when they're trains that just kind of run forever. Like trains that don't function like normal passenger trains, but trains like Snowpiercer where they're just kind of going around forever and they're just there and people like live on the trains. I like trains like that. I think that's interesting.
Yeah. So we could definitely do that too.
Trains in the desert.
I think a train through the desert makes a lot of sense in terms of like bringing things in and out.
I think it would kind of have to be like the Snowpiercer train though, because it's like shifting dunes and whatnot, and you have to account for that.
Wait, is the entire world desert, or is it just this part of it? Is it like half the world desert, or is it something crazy?
I don't know, because I guess that depends.
I was thinking it could be like post-war, and that's what set technology at a standstill.
I do love a post-apocalyptic setting. Because then, too, it's like they're just building it out of scraps they can find, and steam's the best they can manage. So
yeah, exactly.
That's got my stamp of approval. I'm down for that element.
Sweet. And then there's a train that cuts through dunes.
Let's rewrite Dune. Let's mash up Dune and Snowpiercer, and this is Dune Piercer.
And it's Dune Piercer. And this is, remember that giant sandworm? It's the same giant sandworm. He's just on a track. That's the train.
Yes! Sandworm Express. Let's go.
Yeah. So, and then what is the major plot of this story? What sort of things do you imagine creating with the setting?
If it's post-apocalyptic, I imagine survival elements is a big deal. And I hate pitting people against people because you get enough of that in the real life. But I feel like, especially in post-apocalyptic settings, you really get that small group of people versus small group of people because they're all just struggling to survive. And unfortunately, that leads to a lot of fighting because you're slightly different from us. And it's very much us versus them mentality.
Hmm. I mean, we can put in another villain that doesn't have to be another person. It can be, we can look towards the classics like Man versus Nature, which I think steampunk will take really well to.
I think that could be a fun mini boss. You know how sand settings always have the creature under the sand and then like jumps up and it's like this giant monstrosity that could eat you and then it dives back under the sand. You're like, where'd it go? That could be a fun little mini boss before the real boss.
So I was thinking to sort of flip it would be a sky jellyfish.
Ominous.
So imagine this huge, larger than whale size jellyfish thing that's floating through the skies, like soaking up sunlight, right? But also,
That just made me so upset picturing that. That's such a big
good,
size jellyfish in the
good.
sky.
And it also shoots down tentacles and eats people every now and then.
Oh my
or like
God.
destroys cities, or is just like causes sandstorms or something weird.
I like that too, because I think like, yes, desert's a cool setting, but I think it's cool too if we really focus on the air element. So like putting more dangers in the air, I think is a good idea too. Because like I said, I'm really invested in the cloud chaser idea. Also too, I love the idea of floating cities. That's so fun to me. So like cities that are just uplifted in the air because they're being pulled up by kites or some sort of fan thing. And then like, they really got to watch out for the fucking giant ass jellyfish that might come and eat them. That could even be a dichotomy there where it's like the sky people and the sand people or something. And it's like, those are the two different groups there.
Oh, that's actually a really good way to put it. We can always have them coming together to help each other out too, versus like separating them. So I think we got two like big things that they can face off against. But what are some little things that would be part of like D&D? There'd still be bandits. There'd still be like caravans getting robbed. I imagine there's like Mad Max-esque steampunk gangs.
Escapades.
Yeah.
Because again, too, like I guess you could really dive into the culture and analyze and see, well, what does this post-apocalyptic society look like? How are they functioning? Kind of a deal. And like in a world where you don't have a lot of access to water, are there a lot of coastal cities? Have they developed desalination techniques? Or is everyone still focused on living in the I guess if everything is the desert, then that encourages people to stay in the desert because there's no other options.
Right, like the sea's dried up and there's like, sure, there's oases, but
who knows?
They're not, big, and maybe they're guarded by like the rich and wealthy.
Classic rich and wealthy.
Rich and wealthy.
Because I do like the opulent desert kind of like, because it's like the scene where it's like everything is all dry and dead and boring because it's the desert and it's sad, and then you get to the oasis and it's just like lush colors, beautiful plants, super cool architecture, and like there's just it's such a jewel amongst this very dry landscape. And then if rich people live there, then yeah, that makes sense, I guess, because rich people.
Let's talk about villains.
Because I know we talked about what conflicts we could have, but I guess, yeah, depending on the campaign, do we want it to have a big bad evil guy to face up at the end for the final confrontation, or is it just like
yeah?
Because I feel like that's how most campaigns work, unfortunately, where there is some culmination of something you have to fight at the end.
So how about this? I think you're gonna love this idea.
Oh, hell yeah!
You have a rich guy, right, or a rich woman, whichever, and they're controlling one of the major oasis points. Got all like the water pumps for your drinking and steam needs, yeah. And they're going crazy with power. They have like armies. They're killing people. They're starving people. Essentially being a big old jerk, right? And so one of the things that is part of their personality is that they're always looking to like be better. So they start replacing their body parts with like mechanical body parts.
I love that.
Quite literally losing their humanity.
I love that trope. That's like Doctor Who did that with one of the guy who was in charge of the Cybermen, and it's like also too, it's like that Greek riddle. That thing where it's like if you start replacing board by board a ship, at what point do you have a completely different ship? Same thing with this, like at what point do you have a completely different person?
Yeah, exactly.
I love that. That's so good.
And the final battle involves him or them walking their machine body, or like however like much percentage it is machine now, into a bigger body.
And then we have the big Transformer mech fight.
Exactly. But it's a steam mech, so it's fun.
I like that. Oh fuck. Where did the thought go?
Or they're like trying to control
Oh,
a train or something.
I like the idea too of depending on how long it takes your players to either get to a point where they feel comfortable confronting the big bad or like just where they are in the campaign.
He's more machine the more they wait.
Yeah. So it's like
great.
There's different pros and cons. Like, oh, he's gonna be harder to fight now, but like more it's easier to fight. It's the weaknesses of metal are more well known than man, or I don't know something, but like so there's different challenges that they have to face depending on at what point they reach him. Also, might I suggest for the aesthetic of this very big city is very glitzy glam casino-esque type, flashy lights, gambling, very party central type of thing for the big bad guy's home base oasis that he is hoarding. Maybe he's also slowly like the other issue is he's gaining control of all the oases. Oh.
Yeah. No, that's
maybe we should have looked up how to pronounce multiple oases.
No, we got it. We have it.
But yeah, so he's like buying them out, and that's the other reason why he's causing an issue. There's a scarcity.
Yeah, exactly.
Because like, it's that whole thing with the Romans and the Colosseum where it's like if you distract the people, then the people don't want to fight you because they're too distracted. So it's like distract him with glitz and glam and like high rolling city living kind of fun stuff, especially because you control the water in the area and stuff.
Mm-hmm. Do we want a steampunk dragon? I kind of want a steampunk dragon. Maybe that's the guy's final form.
Oh, a steampunk dragon would be fun.
And he has steam breath because, of course, a rich person would blow what is essentially money out of his mouth as an attack.
Plus, that's just a good weapon. Steam's hot. It hurts.
Oh, yeah. It gets everywhere.
I think also, too, I feel like lightning and stuff always goes well with the desert aesthetic. So I think a lot of like electrical type weaponry would be good. Like zappy sticks. I'm sure they have a proper name, but I can't think of them.
So how about this? The dragon has like a chainsaw appendage that like flips out.
Holy shit. If your character hasn't lost a limb yet, we're going to make sure they do.
They will.
No one is escaping with all their bits and baubles attached.
Bits and baubles.
Yeah, I like that. Because then too, it's like that presents a fun opportunity for smaller fights earlier in the campaign because it's like you have the normal just people versus people, which is a hard fight. And then like the bio dangers, like, poisonous snakes or what have you. And then you have like, I don't know, maybe once the big bad catches word that you're trying to topple their domain or whatever, then they start sending like steampunk animals or things after you, or even just like thugs for hire and stuff. And it's just like trying to stop you.
Oh, how about this? And then if your party is clever enough, the steampunk animals that they send after you can be harvested for magic items.
Hell yeah. And then too, I feel like having a big bad evil person like that, where they're just a real piece of shit, I feel like that makes it pretty easy to create a cohesive party too, because it's really easy to be like, oh, this guy, wiped out my whole family and now I want vengeance, or this guy has my sibling hostage, I want to free them or something. So like when you have a real sleazy character like that, I feel like it's really easy to find common threads to unite characters for, because that's something I'm always concerned about with campaigns too. Like with Heroes Gauntlet, it was really easy to say you guys have nothing in common and you're just here, because that's just how that campaign worked. But like for other campaigns, it's tricky to like find a common thread that unites them and it explains why are they here and why are they all together and why aren't they all just leaving.
Yeah, I feel that 100%. That's one of the hardest things that you can do, or to do sometimes.
So that's why I think this particular bad guy would really vibe, because then, pretty easy to find a cohesive party of why they would hate this guy and why they would go after him, because he's just shitty.
He's a shitty guy and you need water.
And you need water for all of your steam. I would imagine if they fail, no more water and everyone dies. Like not only do you need water for your steam powered machinery, but like you just need water to live.
Right.
So like if this man controls all the water, it's bad when one person is in charge of one resource, as history has shown us. So that's going to be a bad scene. And then if they win,
everybody gets the water. They get distribute it, and they all become.
Yeah, perhaps they restructure society, come up with a new kind of government or something.
Like, would you like some water, Conrad?
Love it.
And that's like the ending clip.
And then the credits roll. Game over.
And it's like, oh no, they're communists now.
joke's on you. This whole campaign was an elaborate operation to make you like communism.
They hate
Got
capitalism.
him.
It's hold on, we got to go back to the villain now. The villain's like, he's not like evil, he's just like a raging capitalist. Like, look,
He's the monopoly man.
It's all about supply and demand, and right now I have all the supply of water and there's a huge demand for it, so I'm only playing my part in this, capitalist society, and increasing the profit, increasing my own
He
profit.
just regurgitates every shitty thing you hear a capitalist say ever, and you're
It's
like,
a
okay.
trickle down society. The more money I make, you understand, the more money you'll make, and it's going to improve everybody's lives around us. I mean, if they're thirsty, they should work for it. I'm not just going to give them water. Give them water for sitting on their butts?
Oh my god. I earned this water. My dad gave me a huge share of it, but I earned this water.
Granted, my dad had this huge water industry. I started with nothing. He gave me a small 10,000 gallon, startup, but I started with nothing. And I want his skin to be like glisteningly soft and supple and like juicy. Well, everybody
he just always looks so moisturized, and everyone else has chapped ass lips.
Exactly, like red ass, like burning eyes, like, very dry, frizzy hair, and he's just like the opposite.
He's
There's
slick and
another
smooth.
reason he licks his like wet lips, like yeah. So you guys just need to be better.
That was such an unpleasant visual just now.
Yeah, he like looks at the dry people, and he's just like, you guys really need to moisturize, and I could show you how. Do you not know how? So what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to take your water and you're going to want to just like really soak it into your hair. It won't be drinkable after, but you know what? That's the cost of beauty.
Sometimes you just got to waste,
Yeah.
Also, I had a fun thought of a very poor society where they have so few amounts of water that they just have people like, they just recycle urine and sweat a lot because they like, where else will they get water? And they just have to do that a lot. So like a lot of the less water rich cultures got to do that. Cultures, groups, clans.
Yeah. A lot of some of the less well-off peoples have to like, they'll smell a little bit more like urine or bad water because their filtering system isn't as good as like the wealthier people.
Oh no.
So that's like one of the markings.
That's little piss boy, and he smells like piss.
That's exactly what the villain says. He's like, ew, it smells disgusting. How do you live like this? Oh, he like puts like what's it called? A needlepoint like napkin or whatever on his face. Like, oh my goodness, it's a wet nap. He has a bunch of wet naps.
He's got nothing but like little wet wipes ready to go.
He's that water rich. God, I could talk way more about this villain now. He's the worst.
Let's get into it. Fuck this guy for real, though.
He's got a bunch of chapstick, bunch of lotion, bunch of...
Oh, and you know what? I bet, like, in this society, like, probably baths and showers aren't a big deal. I bet oil's a very big thing, though. And I bet they do, like, old school Grecian, like, cleaning where it's, like, the oil and you, like, scrape it off or something like that.
Yeah,
that way you don't have to waste water for bathing and whatnot.
Yeah.
Neato.
What's alcohol? Oh wait, is there like a powdered form of alcohol? I was imagining a water tavern.
A water tavern?
Yeah, instead of beer, it's water.
Just get turned on fresh, crisp water.
I guess they don't get turned. It's like cactus juice, I guess. Another Avatar reference.
Do you need a lot of water to make alcohol? Because maybe that could be like, maybe it's like ye old England rules.
You do.
Ah, shit.
Yeah, which is why, cactus juice is the drink there. It's,
cactus juice.
Yeah, and it gets you high as fuck.
And perhaps camel milk, because I think that's a thing.
Oh, yeah. Oh, for sure.
Camel milk. I love it. Invested. Let's just run through the episode again. Let's go again. We got a lot of good ideas now.
He has a spritzer. He spritzes himself in front of the poor people. And they like bask near him to get like a taste of water. Like, as he's like, pss, 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 pss. Oh, I was feeling a tad dry. Pss,
it's like, I don't know if you've ever been to the wild animal park, but during summer, they would like have little mister areas. And like, you're just out there and it's hot as balls. And you like walk really fast to the next misting station. You just stand there like, yes.
Yeah,
mist.
Exactly. Except it's just like a hat he has. No, he has like one of his slaves or something, like carrying a pole that like pumps mists over him. Yeah.
Oh, you know what? I could see this shithole like spitting on someone and being like, you should thank me. It's water or something like that. I feel like that's a move he could pull.
Oh, no. He's like, he sets it up where it's like, oh, look at this poor urchin. He's thirsty. Oh, his skin is so dry. Oh, here, give me some water. And everybody's like, oh, he's going to give him some water. And he takes the water and he drinks it, swishes it around in his mouth, swallows some of it, and then spits it out on the kid.
That can be his introductory scene, just in case anyone didn't get the hint that he's a piece of shit. Now you know he's a piece of shit.
And he's like, oh, you're welcome. Let's see. I think we hit upon everything we usually try and do. But what kind of character would you want to play in this setting? I don't think a stage magician for me would work quite well, but I can imagine a desert druid being really fun. And he has like a mechanical body part that he always has to like lug around in his animal form. Because like when he turns, like say he turns into a snake for the desert, right?
Mm-hmm.
But he still has to pull like his mechanical arm behind him because it doesn't transform with him.
I mean, what would be cool is like, especially if we incorporate some level of magic in this world to like put some sort of spell on the automail like that, where like it shifts with you somehow, which with a snake is not really applicable because there's no limbs. But like for other creatures.
I was thinking like a mechanical rattler or something, if that was the case.
Oh my God. I have many issues with the movie Rango in regards to character design.
Oh, it's very uncomfortable.
But I do like the evil snake guys, like a gun barrel rattler. I think that's neat as hell.
Exactly. That's my druid is gun druid.
Gun druid.
He just has a gun in every one of his forms.
People like go to shake his hand, it's just a gun, and they're like, and he's like, sorry, that's all I got. It's just a gun.
This is what I got, man.
Always ready to shoot out. But no, I think I was envisioning super cool steam powered wheelchair user, like a tinkerer type.
Yeah.
I was feeling non-binary.
Mm-hmm.
Gotta have big old goggles on because that's just such a good look, you know.
Somebody has to have goggles in a steampunk setting.
You gotta have goggles.
You gotta have steam. You gotta have gears, bronze, and leather.
Lots of copper, lots of orange metals. But yeah, and then like, so then they can like tinker and like do, like, I like that one trope, the tinkerer character where they just fuck around and do weird shit. And sometimes it's good and sometimes it's not, but they keep trying. The pink-haired adventure girl from My Hero Academia. Oh, I don't remember her name.
Yeah. The designer?
Yeah, and she just makes all those cool gadgets all the time. And some of them suck and some of them are cool. It's like kind of like a different take on the mad scientist kind of vibe. So that would be my character, I think.
I think that's a good one.
And if we're using the skin of D&D, no, that's not the. If we're using the engine of D&D 5e,
the D&D skin,
I think for class artificer would probably be the most in line.
That's what I was thinking. I felt because
everyone's an artificer, nothing else.
That's what I felt like. The entire world would be best suited to be an artificer.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's one of those things where if you live in a world where you could learn actual magic or you can learn actually how to fly, why wouldn't you?
Right.
And I feel like in a steampunk setting, it's like, why wouldn't you learn how to like manipulate steam and machinery?
It's like just a basic skill that everyone kind of picks up. They all know how to handle a screwdriver and stuff. I feel like different like maybe the magic classes might be harder to fit in. What is the decision? What do we land on? How magical is this world, I guess?
Let's cut it down to low magic, and I think if we cut away a lot of the magic classes, we can make it very possible.
Okay. How about this? Like, it was a magic war, and that's why magic is like hard to come by, either because people went on a fear-bending mob tirade and killed off all the magic users, or some sort of cataclysmic event in the war like killed magic or something like that.
So do you remember the movie 9 with the little puppets?
That came out September 9th, 2009. I was so excited. I said, Mom, can we go? She let me go. I was so obsessed with that movie. Fuck, I loved it. I was in like a huge Elijah Wood kick where I was just like, I love this man's voice and I will listen to him all the time. Fucking love that movie.
So my whole thoughts is that was a great way of interpreting steampunk and magic and world building. It was just such a great blend, and I would love for magic users to have that same sort of affinity where magic is almost more of a science and can be controlled mechanically.
Oh yeah.
I think that would be a great way for there to be like a wizard-esque character, or for like you know, the backstory. What if your backstory for your Warforged was just 9?
Just 9, but big.
So here's what you do. You get you and 9 of your closest friends, right? You run a game where they're each Warforged. And they're all part of a scientist's soul.
I think that would be such a funny Our hands are tied. We've got too many podcasts going on, but I think that'd be a hilarious kind of thing where you like each episode is a new group of people, but you've set up a D&D campaign. You're like, let's play D&D. But the campaign is just a thinly veiled movie plot, and you just wait and see how long it takes for them to notice the movie plot.
All right. You're going to play a rogue police officer in futuristic New York. Everybody else is dependent on robots, but you distrust them after a tragic event from your past. You will play as one of these robots.
Is this Detroit Become Human?
No, this is iRobot.
Oh.
I would love that. It'd be so funny. There's like every week you have to try and guess what movie you're in. And every now and then,
especially if it's a horror movie, that'd be so funny.
You're like, fuck, I'm in Saw.
Everyone starts dying and you're like, oh no, I thought this was like a rom-com, but oops. Anyways, that's another podcast for another day.
The movie games or something. So yeah, I think we have a great setting. I think we have some cool, nifty characters.
Yeah.
I guess one of the last questions I wanted to ask, or I guess I have two more questions. I'll ask the less exciting one. They're both pretty exciting, but I'll ask the one I want to hear at least first. And if you were to design a monster for this game, yeah, what kind of monster would you go with? Because I feel like that's always a classic, like D&D session is like, oh, you and the gang fight a monster. What's this gonna? Is it going to be a steampunk monster? Is it going to be a desert monster? What you thinking?
Yeah, I think I like the idea of, and I'm kind of stealing from Breath of the Wild here, but hell, it's a really good game. But like one of those giant mecha beasts gone rogue somehow, either like because sand got where it wasn't supposed to and corrupted it, or because whatever magics that may or may not hold it together got corrupted or something, and it's just like on a rampage. And then it's fun too because it gives the party the choice of you can either try and figure out what's wrong and fix it, or you can just destroy the thing and like consequences for either or.
Oh yeah, multiple angles. I really like that. I really like that idea. Mine was a little bit boring in the sense it was like a Frankenstein styled monster who's like partially powered by steam and mechanical body parts.
That sounds upsetting, especially if it's made from human flesh like the classic Frankenstein.
It's very upsetting, but that's the point, you know? The real monster is its creator, of course.
Man is the true monster. That would be extra upsetting too, because especially in a desert, unless you're like pumping in moisture to its skin, it's gonna get pretty crispy, pretty flaky.
Ooh, it's all crunchy. Love it.
Crunchy zombie Frankenstein,
it's like
man.
A kettle chip.
Oh, of all the crunchy things.
Crisp. A last thing, I feel like you've already answered this, but feel free to add another. Is that magic items are one of my favorite things in like D&D games, and I feel like steampunk very much takes to it really well, and you just need to put like a slight twist to things to make them.
Because I think we said this in a past episode, but like, what is magic if not science?
Exactly.
It's neat.
So yeah, if you were to have a magic item in this game that's essentially like reflavored to be steampunk, what would it be?
I like the idea of having like vials filled with either like acids or some sort of chemical reaction, and then
like
either
honey.
having some sort of gun to launch them with, or you just chuck them regardless.
Like, okay, so you just made the character Honey Lemon from...
I know. It's Honey Lemon.
Yeah. What movie was that again? That's a Pixar
Big
movie.
Hero 6.
Big Hero 6, yeah.
Honestly, when you were talking about a reflavored San Fran, I was thinking of that one because they call it, what is it, San Francisco? No, that's the normal name.
San Francisco? I forget. Something like that.
They blend it in an interesting way that is pleasing to the tongue, and I can't remember it.
Yes, they do. Okay. And as far as my magic item, I thought it would be really cool to have what was it? Oh, fucking, this is so dumb. Do you know those blade legs that you can buy that are like partially stilts?
No, I don't.
So, hold on.
I'm picturing like the amputee thing where it's the bendy thing that they can run on.
They're like that, but they're made for people who already have. Like, if you still have your legs, you can still use them. They're like stilts.
Oh, yes. Okay, yes.
So they're like that, but imagine that they're powered by steam, so they're even faster. And they're like, what is the actual D&D magic item? It's like boots.
Go fast.
Boots of go fast. They're like that, but they like increase your jump height and increase your speed. I just thought it would be really fun to have like an entire like engine on your back and like huge metal appendages that strap to your legs just so that you can run faster.
Hell yeah. Especially like, I don't know, I feel like in a desert transportation is a very big thing because, like, especially if we make this a vast fucking desert, you know, like, you don't. It would be very boring for the campaign to spend a week on just travel. So it'd be cool if you could think of ways to expedite said travel. And the stilt go fast is a fun idea, I think.
Stilt go fast. Love it.
Because you could really power through.
Mm-hmm.
And it'd be easier to travel over dunes that way, I imagine. Just leap over them. Did we talk about NPCs at all?
To start, I think we got train conductor.
Train conductor's got to be one.
Yeah, caravan person.
You know, you got to have a traveling caravan in a desert setting.
We have all the pilots for the moisture hunters, the cloud hunters.
Moisture hunters?
Cloud gatherers.
I think I was calling them cloud chasers.
Cloud chasers, that makes more sense. Yeah.
Moisture hunters could be like the mean way people address them if they don't like them, perhaps.
But yeah, cloud chasers, all those pilots.
I like the idea of the train conductor having a curly mustache.
Of course. 90% of the people in this campaign have curly mustache.
Curly mustaches. Curly beards. That'd be fun.
Yeah, those are some awesome NPCs. And of course, you have to have the friendly wild gang leader NPC. He's a villain at first and then becomes an ally later.
I love that. Love the character growth, the redemption arc. I feel like, especially in this setting, there's a lot of opportunity for NPCs, like, because like everywhere you go, I imagine has some sort of trade center. So already that's like a good NPC of like, we're in this town. Let's talk to this shopkeeper because we know them. And it's like good to build relations that way and stuff.
Exactly.
And then there might even be some like some underlings under the big bad, like the
mini bosses.
Yeah, like mini bosses. What, like gang leaders? What's the mafia boss type?
Yeah. I think
the henchmen. There we go. The henchmen.
There we go. Yeah.
The henchmen of the big bad who come and fuck you up and stuff. And those can also be like little mini. I seem to equate combat in D&D with video game logic. So I'm like, there's mini bosses you have to fight. And then eventually you get to the big bad and then you can fight the big bad. And it's like, that's just how my mind categorizes it, apparently.
There's a reason for that.
It's a good formula.
Exactly.
Neat.
Yeah, I think that was all.
The classic recap, I guess.
Yeah, so what do we have? We have a sick-ass steampunk adventure in a desert city where a giant sandworm train crisscrosses the dunes. There's a malevolent, that's not the right term, malicious oasis hoarder who is slowly replacing his body parts with mechanical ones. He's slowly turning himself into a mechanical steampunk dragon, and the sooner the party confronts him, the less dragon he'll be. A lot of fun characters would be low magic artificer fits super well into steampunk. There's a lot of opportunity for to play a character that like has a disability or is missing a limb, because they steampunk limbs are a thing, which I think is really cool concept to explore. What else? I think that's almost everything.
Even like, not even just full on like limb replacement, but even just like mobility aids in general would probably be pretty cool in this setting, because like those cool splints like people with EDS have and stuff, or like canes and things. A lot of those could have a lot of good potential. Like if you have like you could have like, if you have a blind character and they have a cane, you could like, it could have a cool sensor on it where it's like a metal detector type thing, or it could just be like electrically charged, so you could use it to cast like electric spells at people or something. Like there's a lot of potential. I think like every campaign should be disability friendly, but I feel like this one especially opens a lot of avenues for like just really going at it and coming up with some cool ideas.
Yeah. Let's see. I think that was it. I think we had fun desert cyborg people against soon to be desert steampunk dragon.
Desert environment, people in the sky, people in the sand, giant fucking jellyfishes in the sky, sandworm train in the desert. Everyone wants water. Mean man won't let everyone have water.
What you're trying to say is people are thirsty AF in this campaign.
Oh, Jesus Christ. That's very good. And then lots of steampunk beasties, lots of real beasties, lots of horrible monsters and magic items you can come up with.
Yeah, again, a bunch of so many steam-powered items. It'd be so fun to use. I know, the worst part is I know I'm going to wake up later tonight and be like, oh, shoot, that fits perfectly into this campaign. What about the blanks? What would that look like?
What would that could have been? So that's our campaign. Fuck, I fucked it up. That's our campaign. Please play it, won't you? And let us know.
That's our campaign. Won't you please play it and let us know? Is that what you said?
Yeah.
I thought you said that's our campaign. Please play it. That's what I heard. It was really funny.
That's what I said the first time and I fucked it up. And then I tried to say it again and fix it.